Hello, I'm Phil Windley, the Chief Technology Officer from Kinetics. Today I'd like to tell you why the cloud needs an operating system. John Locke was an English philosopher who had a big impact on the thinking of America's founding fathers. Locke was concerned with power, who had it, how it was used, and how society is structured. More importantly, Locke's theory of mind forms the foundation for our modern ideas about identity and independence. Locke argued that sovereign and independent was man's natural state, and that we gave up freedom, our sovereignty, in exchange for something else, protection, sociality, commerce, and so on. This grand bargain forms the basis for any society. As a community, the Internet proposes a similar bargain. We're independent until we log in, link to, or buy from. Presumably the benefit is worth the independence that we're giving up. The original concept of the web looked like this: web pages linked together. There were servers and clients, but they were hidden beneath an abstraction of web pages, linked as peers. This is the way we largely view the web today, a collection of servers that provide things of value to clients who connect to them one-to-one. The servers are peers through APIs, while the clients are the consumers of the service. In this view of the Internet, people consume the service that companies provide. The problem is that in the Web 2.0 conception of the web, people are not peers of the service provider, but rather subservient to it. We've traded independence for service. This might be okay if it's the best bargain we can strike, but I don't think it is. Doc Searles calls the client-server model calf-cow. He says we get milk and a few cookies, but we're locked into the service provider's pens. This isn't a problem techies can relate to. We've always been able to be peers on the network because we have the power to stand up a server and program it. But most people can't be peers online because they don't have the know-how to run a server, and the server software available to them doesn't offer anything compelling. Consequently, there will always be an imbalance between clients and servers, with the servers winning. One of the primary pieces of evidence of this imbalance in the client-server model are so-called contracts of adhesion, the one-sided, unread terms and conditions you're forced to agree to in order to receive service. When King George imposed contracts of adhesion upon American colonists in the 18th century, they ended up dumping a bunch of tea into Boston Harbor. They dissolved their bonds to King George in the British Empire and joined together to strike a new bargain. In this new bargain, the people gave up part of their sovereignty to form a more perfect union. On the web, we yield too much of our sovereignty. Companies attempt to capture us and our wallets. If we want their service, we're at their mercy. I'm not saying that the current web is awful. There's plenty there to like and enjoy. But I am saying that we can get a better bargain than Web 2.0. One that provides us with more independence, better and more flexible service. One where we're peers rather than mere calves to the cows provided by service providers large and small. But to be peers, we must have our own servers in the cloud. Not web servers, but personal servers, personal clouds. These personal clouds must be easy to run and configure and provide flexible applications to meet the diverse needs of everyone. Our conception of a personal cloud is grander and more compelling than the definition you'll get from Gartner and others. We think of a personal cloud as the equivalent of the personal computer, a personal virtual agent that manages data and runs apps on behalf of its owner. A personal cloud connects you to the people, places, and things that are important to you. A personal cloud connects you to your data around the web, creating an asset of the little data you leave like breadcrumbs as you move around online. I'd like to show you a short video that introduces some of the concepts we've developed around personal clouds. With personal clouds, we're peers of others online because we operate in the cloud with symmetric communications channels. We can connect to anyone or anything and easily manage those connections. Now let's talk for a minute about operating systems. Without an operating system, the personal computer was just a microprocessor, a toy to amuse geeks. Without an operating system, personal computer programmers have to work harder to produce software, and consequently, we wouldn't have the rich, vast choice of operations that make PCs useful for so many different things. Remember WordPerfect in the days of DOS? 2 disks with the program and 20 with the printer drivers. WordPerfect had a building full of people writing printer drivers because the operating system didn't include one. That's friction. But more importantly, without an operating system, people wouldn't be in control. People like your mom are able to use a PC to do so many things because it has an easy-to-use operating system. Any operating system provides important services. The services on a personal cloud aren't the same as those provided by the operating system on a PC because the problem set isn't the same. On a personal cloud, identity management makes the cloud personal. Data management provides important abstractions for handling personal data. The programming model lets developers create useful programs and lets users install and run them, and connections link the personal cloud to other clouds, forming a rich web. These connections are vital. Our personal clouds must be able to connect to other clouds from people, companies, governments, places, and things as peers. These connections are so important, I've written an entire white paper on them with Drummond Reed. One of the key ideas is rich sharing, a property that makes email the go-to service for many types of communications. Personal clouds run on servers, but the connections occur in cloud space rather than between the hosting providers. Self-hosting is possible, and personal clouds are interoperable and the data and apps are portable. We've been experimenting with all these ideas, building a prototype cloud operating system based on events and personal event networks. Here's a diagram of the CloudOS architecture. At the bottom is the kernel, a set of functionality enabled by open source software components. Above that in user space are services and applications. Services provide the basic functionality of the CloudOS: connections, notifications, dashboard support, configuration management, and personal data services. Applications use these services, working on behalf of the owner. The CloudOS dashboard is where people interact with and control their personal cloud. The current dashboard is simple, with a space for interacting with applications on the left and a place on the right for more long-lived widgets. The top menu bar allows owners to interact with their applications, find new applications, manage their personal inventory of things, each of which has its own cloud, and connect with people. Contact me if you'd like a demo. I'd like to show you a video that will give you a feel for how people might interact with a personal cloud dashboard. This short video shows an intent casting scenario we developed with Swift to show how personal clouds and a concept that Swift calls the digital asset grid can enable new forms of commerce. All of the apps in the video are real and run on top of the personal cloud operating system. 15 years into the web, buying and selling still has too much friction. Buyers and sellers waste time trying to find and qualify each other. Often they don't succeed. A new service enabled by the digital asset grid, intent casting, helps tackle this problem. I'd like to show you an intent casting service that Kinetics built on the digital asset grid prototype. Ben wants to sell his motorcycle. He uses an app called Catcher to gather data about the bike and to post this information on various directories. Catcher is acting as Ben's agent in the sale. Allison wants to buy a motorcycle. Using her Caster intent casting application, she creates a specification of the sort of bike she would like to buy and how much she's prepared to pay. Caster acts as Allison's buying agent, broadcasting her intent to buy while at the same time protecting her privacy. Later, Allison sees she's received a number of offers based on her intent cast. Caster filters them according to how close they come to her original specification. Each offer has a seller reputation score provided by her bank via the digital asset grid. Allison reviews the offers and decides she wants to know more about Ben's bike. She requests additional information. Later, Ben sees that Allison has requested information and gives her permission to access the relevant documents. He adds permission for her to see his collection of pictures of the bike and establishes the connection. Apps working for Allison and Ben find common available times for an appointment. Allison test drives the bike and decides to buy it. She completes the purchase using a link to Ben that is specific to the transaction and mediated by her bank. Ben sees that the money is now being held in escrow, waiting for the title transfer to be confirmed by the bank. He makes the transfer via a digital authorization. Allison confirms the title transfer, and the bike shows up in her personal inventory. She also receives a notification that the insurance is in force, so she's street legal and can drive the motorcycle away. All of the digital assets associated with the bike have been handled seamlessly, using apps running on Ben and Allison's behalf. The digital asset grid makes this possible by providing a trust framework for secure information sharing. The personal cloud isn't a web desktop that merely allows you to move your personal computer into the cloud. It's also not an operating system for devices like Tiny OS or a distributed operating system like Inferno. Because it allows you to act as a peer, a cloud operating system allows you to orchestrate and coordinate online interactions, enables cooperating networks of products and services, supports intention-driven automation, and transforms the way you interact with the world. We're partnering with several companies, including Swift, Respect Network, Newstar, and Control Shift, to make the idea of personal clouds in the Cloud OS real. We're always looking for other partners. I've written a book, The Live Web, that describes the fundamental technology, event-based interactions, that make the Cloud OS and personal clouds possible. There are several white papers listed on my blog that give more information about what we're doing. There are also several videos on my blog that show more about how the Cloud OS works. We've got pretty good documentation about how to build event-based applications. The underlying system has had an open developer program for several years. We're just about ready for alpha developers to build applications on the Cloud OS itself. We're targeting December 2012. Contact me if you'd like to be invited to the developer program for the cloud operating system, or if you'd like a demonstration of personal clouds.